Welcome back everyone to theCUBE here. I'm John Furrier, your host. We're here part of the CMO Leaders, theCUBE and NYSE, breaking down all the action. Ami is here, CMO of ARM, CUBE alumni, she's back. Great to see you. Love the leather jacket again. Good to see that look. You were last time I think you were wearing a leather jacket here on theCUBE. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
So I'm glad you came. I'm excited because we had last time you were on part of the AI Infrastructure Leaders series. Now it's the CMO. You're actually in the CMO role, so
yeah.
A little bit more on point relative to what you do. But in general, you guys are really on the front end of all the action. You're seeing all the devices, processing, chip gains, software algorithms are all happening under the watch that you guys are on that wave. CMOs is a little bit different.
Yep.
And you do the day-to-day job. So first question for you is that, like, as you look at the frame of the change that's going on, every vertical,
yep.
So every job function, marketing,
yep.
customer care, manufacturing, and every industry vertical, oil and gas, financial services, legal, I mean, every single vertical, and then I would say persona, whatever you want to call it, job, role, there's change, where the domain expertise is there.
Right.
And that's a constant theme in the AI besides all the horizontal scale, but domain expertise. So marketing is a lot of domain expertise in marketing. So what do you see as the opportunities where disruptions and enablement
yep.
in marketing? Because there's classic ways to do marketing.
Right.
But now with the support, accelerated of change in computing,
yep. Yep.
you now have faster ways to do things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, we've been blessed to have a front row seat into everything that's going on with AI and right in the middle of the action, which has been great. From an organizational perspective, specifically for marketing, I think one of the things that everyone in a company usually believes they can do marketing, and I think what you really have to figure out is what are the things that are going to move the needle. What are the low value tasks that basically are, take lower priority, and what are the kind of the activities that you have to continue to kind of stay in front of? I think what AI is going to do is really help us focus as a marketing organization on the high value added tasks that you can't, automate away. And I think some of the lower priority tasks are going to be improved with AI. And so that's what I feel like the function of marketing will change quite dramatically. I talk a lot about how marketing is very much at the intersection of strategy and storytelling. And I think AI will really help drive a lot more of that and help the organization focus a lot more of that on more of that, which is where we shine. And then all the other stuff will either be improved, automated away, or whatnot. So it's really going to give the organization in general a lift. And we're excited from an ARM perspective because of all the devices that we enable, which we believe eventually will have AI in the near term.
And plus, the device is going to be doing inference on them.
Right.
Doing all the data have to go there.
Right.
Data has always been the value proposition for very obvious areas. Marketing, data-driven dashboards and analytics has been there.
Right.
Cybersecurity is another vertical where it's heavy tactical because breaches are happening. So I'm starting to see, and I'd love to get your reaction on this, I'm starting to see the CMO role kind of intersecting with this like mission critical business function like security. I'm not saying security directly, but like what security is for a company has moved from below the line to board level conversation because if you get breached, it could be game over. It's an extinction event. Marketing, you're starting to see that move up to a kind of a peer role with stakeholders. Do you see structural alignment around how the brand narrative and what that impact is in the world? Because now you have accelerated discovery, feeding other engines of data. So your narrative is now data.
Right.
Too.
Right.
What's your take on this? First of all, do you agree there's structural change, and how would you view it?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think what folks don't realize is how data-driven marketing is. I come from an investment banking background turned marketer, and so I love data. I use it. I try to figure out what are the ways that we can influence business. What are the drivers of success? But it's not about impressions. It's about how does it actually drive either your market valuation, increased visibility leads to market valuation, or does it, help with top line, bottom line? And so I think we probably have as a marketing function in an organization, we probably have the breadth to really look at data in a different way than what we used to in the past. And generative AI is only going to get better. Then you look at, peer class. And I always, when we look at marketing, it's a lot more about the futures and how are we going to market the future of where the company is going? So where is the puck going?
Yeah.
And then how are we going to measure success based on the futures? So that's where I really believe that marketing has evolved and changed a lot over the years. It's a lot more of a strategic function than a tactical one as once probably used to be.
So would you see the CMO pairing, kind of pair programming, if you will, aligning with like the CFO or more CISO, CIO? What areas do you see the coalitions forming? Because I do see similar impact of brand narrative and future value of narrative.
Yeah. I mean, I spend a lot of time with our CFO talking a little bit about, what's our story? How does that resonate with investors? And how is the street going to measure us as, in correlation to that? So we spend a lot of time together, kind of from that lens. And then I feel like I spend a lot of time with our lines of business, because you have to, at the end of the day, we are a technology company, so you have to understand the product pretty deeply, and then understand, like, how do you actually tell a story about the products or the technology that's surfacing. And then obviously, making sure that our helping our CEO connect the dots across all the different programs, initiatives that are going on across the company to really tell that story in a more powerful way, whether it's to investors, whether it's to media, whether it's to customers, partners, kind of all of that. So that's, I don't necessarily see it as, you're cozying up with one group or another. You sort of have to have a broad view of the entire organization and the company at large, and have to really understand where the company is going to go, how we're positioning for the future.
So thought leadership is important.
Yes.
Education.
Yep. Awareness.
It's very hard. It's nuanced technology. You got to go deeper. A lot of product marketing.
Yep. Exactly.
So being an investment banker turned marketer, you must love the idea of high frequency insights. High frequency trading changed the market in terms of getting that information fast. Do you see, I mean, everyone's got a hot take these days in the media, and so there's a lot of also user fatigue of what's vanilla or fake or real, hot take, just another selfie, some people getting attention. People want to know where the real data is, whether it's news, opinion, and commentary. There's a lot of noise out there.
There is a lot of noise, and I think you have to be, and actually that's the reason why I'm so excited about generative AI, is because what it really helps you do is parse through that noise. I was telling you right before this, I did deep research was obviously rolled out last week with OpenAI as their sort of one of their agent tools that allow you to do deep research analysis. And we had earnings last week, and I was kind of going in and sort of saying, what is the sentiment analysis of what the street and the media and some of the news commentary on our stock post earnings, or just earnings in general, and how the message resonated. And it was just fabulous. Instead of me having to kind of parse out that noise, you can now use deep research to really go into some of that market analysis. And so you could just imagine that. I mean, that was just one small use case, but imagine that applied to many, many parts of the organization. So I think these AI tools will get better over time, and they will actually help you parse through the noise and filter out kind of the garbage versus, what's actually going to be valuable.
We had a previous guest on, Bruce Cleveland, who was talking about, you can go to school and get trained and have all this knowledge, book knowledge. He called it book knowledge, very clear, very straight up and to the point, versus street skills. Street smarts, some people say. So you got street smarts and you got book smarts. The book smarts is your knowledge. That's the AI assistance. Your street experience takes time too. If you're going to fly a plane, you got to get your miles in the air before you can master that. So there's mastery. With all the mundane work that's getting automated away for the benefit of the human, the driver of the car, if you will, skills become important. How do you look at that? Because a lot of people are like, okay, I can do a lot of things faster. People used to do that in jobs, but okay, but then the opportunities for that person or the staff is to get higher end opportunities.
In terms of skills, I think AI tools are really going to upskill the workforce. I mean, I look at it as more of us being more productive with our time. With marketing, there's a lot of context switching. And so you have to be really good at, the folks that I've seen be great marketers are folks that are great at context switching. And moving quickly, moving at the pace of the business.
Give an example of the context switching.
Context switching, I mean, today I was spending time with the team in the morning, figuring out what is our message for an event that we're doing later on, in a couple months. And then I was also kind of dipping into, some of the geopolitical tariffs that are happening, what is the impact on our business? Should we think about that differently? And so it's,
and now
the
you're here on theCUBE.
macroeconomic, and exactly, now I'm here on theCUBE, exactly. So you have to be able to kind of context switch as opposed to being very deep and linear in kind of your thinking. And so I think AI will really help you with that, get you better with upskilling and the context switching.
On team formation, does that put a premium on versatility and adaptability, situational awareness?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think all of that. I mean, I think, adaptability, being agile. I mean, I'm a big believer in experimentation and figuring out, how you can experiment with all these tools. I encourage experimentation on my team for sure, because I think those are the people that are going to succeed and really embrace kind of new technologies and really help upskill the workforce just generally within my team and broadly within the company.
So I mean, put your personal hat on, take off your ARM CMO hat, and put on your investment banker, CMO, just general cognition in the industry. There's always things that are happening right now that are solvable, that weren't solvable 5 years ago, and I use the example of enterprise search.
Right.
Okay, that was a hard nut to crack, and if you got all the way down and you actually did it, it was changed before you started. Now things like Glean are out there. You're starting to see like really clever ways to abstract complexity out of like legacy stovepipe systems.
Right.
So and IoT, again, you're an ARM, you know that area. So there are opportunities in marketing to change how it was done, the mechanism.
Right.
Not change like, say, lead gen.
Right.
Email marketing was inbound, you go outbound with sales. So things like that are like systematic legacy things, mechanisms.
Right.
What mechanisms do you see that are going to be huge breakthroughs that other CMOs could focus on because they're now gettable?
Right.
Because there's a graveyard of enterprise search because that's at that time wasn't ready.
Right.
Now it's ready. So what's ready for prime time, or at least starting to get into with AIs assisting that? What do you see as areas where you can move the needle?
Yeah, I mean, there are really easy ways that I think just today, right, that you can use a lot of these AI tools. And one is around anything copy assisted. So I look at things, like message testing. The legacy way to do this is get a bunch of people in a room from external, outside sources and message test with that audience. Now I think you now have, the entire internet where you can message test. That's I think a fundamental change to the way things were, and it will help us move faster in terms of message testing. Creating press releases, like what's the headline? How is it going to resonate? Before it was, you're sort of in a vacuum trying to test these things. Email
it around. What do you guys think? Mark it up, give feedback.
Exactly. And now I think the way that you think about even a press release in general, is that system going to go away? Is that kind of an antiquated way to think about things? Is there other forms of content that you can now create much more quickly at a lower cost than you were before? So I think those are kind of opportunities for us to explore that are available now. And I mean, what I fundamentally believe is we're sort of at the very early point of AI agents and inference, as we know, with these foundation models that are being built. So I think the tools that we have today are obviously great for what we have today, but I think going forward with the amount of agents and the investment going into AI and inference, I think we'll have many other applicabilities of what AI could potentially do in a marketing world. And that's what really excites me. It's the intersection of ARM, where we're driving a bunch of this compute to drive inference for the future, and then also how we can use it internally to help make our organizations more productive.
I was saying on the CUBE pod past 2 weeks, certainly DeepSeek got everyone's attention with the cleverness of how they managed the constraints that they had. And I think that was the big takeaway that I was trying to tell people is that, look beyond, I call it DeepSeek style. Which is innovative software and algorithms. It wasn't really anything hardware that they did. They just kind of
optimize
what they can get their hands on. Reminds me of the PC days when someone said, hey, we have to only deal with these chips. That brings up, if this continues at that pace and the work that you guys are doing, there's going to be a Cambrian explosion of applications.
Right, exactly.
And so that's going to happen, like I can feel it like busting out like almost right now. It's like, it's coming.
Exactly.
Like super fast.
Right.
What's your take on that? Because that's going to give new ways to hire resource or build apps for marketers.
Right.
So a new way to move super fast.
Right.
Like you mentioned with AI, you want a focus group? Hey, I want to give me 20 different people to do that. That would have taken a month to even organize that. Now you can do it in one query.
Right.
And then do follow-on prompts and iterate through and get a result.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Now you can build apps.
Right. Yeah.
So that's coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
The CMOs, like, they're not used to doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think DeepSeek, to your point, was there was obviously a market overreaction to DeepSeek. I think, from my vantage point, the way I think about it is that it drives innovation, and then innovation drives more AI agents or, more inference, which will all require more compute. So from my vantage point, it actually was a good thing. You have these, continuous innovation cycles that happen, which this is how you invent new types of solutions for existing problems or for new problems. So I believe that it's actually going to help with, the kind of the new world of what AI will look like, which will be more consumable for folks like myself and other people, who aren't necessarily an engineer, but want to use the tools and the agents that will exist. So I think that's what 2025 is. It's the year of AI agents.
And the reason why first of all, I love what you said, because it reminds me of, and why I like this, I think the timing's good, is that it reminds me of why we're in a good spot. What ARM has done, and again, Dave Vellante is proud to say this, but go back 10 years, we were the ones who kind of predicted the ARM growth, and almost to the number, but not to pat ourselves on the back. But if the startups are coming, if you look at what the cloud did to perpetual licenses.
Right.
So you had perpetual license was the standard pricing, how economics were on software, old school, load some stuff on an enterprise.
Right.
Cloud came, that was subscription SaaS.
Yep.
Okay, good job, move on, that's cloud growth. Now we're moving into usage-based pricing.
Right.
On a different compute architecture. Each one of those economic models of perpetual license software, enterprise computer industry, cloud, hybrid, SaaS. Now we're in an AI era where companies are born in the AI. Born in the cloud was like no names like Dropbox, Airbnb that no one's ever heard of. Now they're hugely successful companies. A new batch of startups are coming. Born in the AI. I call it AI cloud, AI on-prem. Doesn't matter. Edge, I mean, they're everywhere. AI everywhere. So those are going to be new brands. Plus enterprise AI is going to be very exploding in growth. That's architecture is different. Each one of those things had different computes. How do you guys at ARM and you personally look at that innovation? Because that will tell you that if you're seeing usage-based stuff, that's going to change valuations, how you do deals, but that's what people want. It takes advantage of the compute architecture, which is distributed computing.
It's about more efficient, I think, more efficient computing. And so that's what we're seeing, whether it's in the data center, whether it's in the automobile, whether it's in connected devices in your home or Internet of Things, whether it's in your mobile phone. What you're seeing is, across all of those, is you need more power efficient computing that's still, higher performance and more power efficient. And then, we talked, I think, last time about power efficiency being really the gatekeeper in terms of AI scaling. And I think we'll see that and we'll continue to see that. And so that's why having a power efficient architecture, power efficient compute platform like ARM is really going to drive all of the AI tailwind that we're going to continue to see as these applications continue to grow and explode.
If that business model, which I think will happen, you guys will be obviously enabling that. Are you seeing applications and business models starting to take advantage of that usage? I mean, they might be pure play usage deals. Like what are you seeing in the ecosystem around? Because I think this is going to be the tell sign for what's going to happen for the next 10, 20 years.
I mean, I think, we have the largest developer ecosystem. We have 20 million developers. I think we have the largest developer ecosystem of probably any tech company. And so what we're really seeing is developers developing much more quickly and taking advantage of the accelerations that we have in our compute platform to really drive some of that usage. So I think we're seeing software really driving the hardware, and we'll continue to see that. And I think there's going to be new usage models, to your point. I mean, if you even look at advertising as an example, as a CMO, a lot of times what you do is you bid for ads, right? And with AI tools, how does the advertising change? You're not going and ranking algorithms to sort of place ads, based on placement and paying for bidding spots. The whole world of how you do advertisement and the world of marketing is going to be completely changed based on all of these AI agents or AI use cases coming to market. And so I think we'll see that paradigm shift. The great thing is ARM's empowering a lot of that. So we're going to be right front and center in terms of thinking about how that usage is shifting and really enabling developers to think differently about these usage models.
And I think the exciting thing about having a supercomputing like these big AI clusters in a data center or in the cloud is it's going to enable the edge to be an intelligent piece of the network, low power, high performance.
Exactly.
You're starting to see cost efficiencies drop, high performance increase. That's kind of a flywheel we're seeing in,
compute.
In the models, so the compute architecture is changing. That's exciting, and that brings the next question: is what software runs on all this? It's like at the end of the day, the AI infrastructure is being solved right now, and agents are about to roll in and be the steady state. What software runs on all these big AI systems? That's the question that we're seeing out there. What do you see out there as being the state of the art software to run on these things? Is it Linux? Is it new stacks, or are people building their own, bringing their own? What do you see in terms of the developer action?
Yeah, I think, I think it's too early in terms of what that software framework's going to look like. But you're obviously seeing new software models pop up every day. I think, similar to Linux being the kind of defining layer, there's probably going to be some standardization that's going to happen over time. I mean, ourselves with ARM, we use a lot of open source, and so I think there's going to be probably a drive towards open source. We're already seeing that. We have something called Clyde that we introduced to the market last year, which is basically trying to standardize the developers so that they can take advantage of the hardware accelerations in our compute platform. And really, we're really trying to standardize that regardless of platform. And then we work really closely with all the operating systems to make sure that we are part and parcel working very closely with all the OS layers to really create standardization, because I think that's what you'll need. Instead of fragmentation, you want standardization, which you've seen from Linux, and kind of that's sort of how you always see compute evolve over time.
You got a super exciting job. On the CMO, just to kind of touch back and come circle back to the CMO, there's concern that CMOs are losing relevance. On one hand, I hear people say, CMOs have a short shelf life and they're not as relevant. And on the other hand, no, they're the most irrelevant piece. Again, hypothetical scenarios, they are relevant. We're seeing value in that. So for people out there who want to modernize their role, because we see CMOs, especially with communications, knowledge of the market, as a very strategic, important business driver where the customers are getting. I mean, it's sales, like at the end of the day. You're doing the same things, but now the mechanism are changing. What should a CMO who's watching think about to get the skills they need? They're at a big company. Startups, they're going to be guerrilla. They're going to do their thing. But if I'm at a big company, I want to do some business transformation, not just lean on my old MarTech stack and do my email marketing. I'm doing the same old rinse and repeat every year. What can I do differently?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of understanding the market dynamics. So constantly, the market's changing. I mean, with AI, you saw a new agent by OpenAI be introduced. I think it was 01 last December, and then now you have 03 a month later. And so the market's going to continue to shift. Being on top of those industry trends is super critical to our role. And then also understanding how it relates to the technology that you're introducing and being able to connect those dots. And thinking about it from a strategic perspective, that's what I think is going to be super important. And then also, to your point, modernizing. You can't just do the same antiquated things that you were used to. As I mentioned with the kind of this ad shift, you're going to see a whole new paradigm shift around how ads are, being driven out to market. And so, how do you evolve and change? And that's where I keep talking about being agile, experimenting, encouraging your teams to experiment, because that obviously gives you the knowledge and the trust to be able to figure out how do you modernize the organization just generally. So I think those are kind of to me, really keys to success for anyone that's exploring marketing.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I do have to ask a question since you mentioned earlier. What was the sentiment analysis on the earnings from all the deep learning? What was what came out of the data?
Yeah, no, it was positive. We had a great record-breaking earnings quarter, and so it was positive actually all the way around. And so it was actually fairly accurate to what we felt in the room. Outside of the room, I'd been following kind of the media and some of the investor feedback, so it was fairly accurate in terms of the sentiment, but it was positive all the way around.
Do you think you'll rely less on analyst research reports or more on AI? How are you looking at engaging traditional mechanisms? I mean, we all know the earned media, paid media, owned media was the old kind of thinking around marketing. earned media was get articles in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal,
right.
But there's still a cost to earn. You have to earn it.
Right.
So, analyst relations, they had a role. Go under NDA, provide some research.
Yep.
Now some are just doing hot takes.
Right.
And is there really advisory there? Is there really real research? And then also investor relations, that's a financial thing. So they get those three areas of comms, because comms seems to be strategic.
Yeah,
and listening.
I say this all the time. I think comms is super strategic, and it's been fascinating how it's evolved over the years. But I don't think any of these roles will go away. I think if anything, you need humans in the loop to kind of put that opinion together that you don't get from an AI tool.
Yeah.
So even though deep research was great, kind of on the surface, ultimately there's opinion and thought that goes into an analyst report that you don't necessarily get with an AI tool. So I think complementing what you already have with your analyst reports with some of the AI research is probably the better way to think about these things. But I don't think it's going to eliminate completely whether it's financial analysts or industry analysts or earned media or however way you think about your comms team. But
it's just the game is still the same, but the mechanisms change.
Yes.
So I mean, if you're an analyst, you got to be faster. If you're in comms, you got to get into the organic flow.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's still the same kind of game.
Right. Yeah.
But different mechanisms.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you have more knowledge, so you're able to react and you're able to predict. And I think that's what's going to be really important.
Okay, so final question. What are you most excited about, both on the marketing side as a CMO, as you look at the 25-mile stare in the marketplace, you got to go out there, skate to where the puck is going to be, as you said.
Right.
And then on the ARM side, what are you most excited about in the trend? So as CMO, what are you excited about in your mission, and where's that puck going to be? And then ARM, what are you excited about with ARM?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a CMO perspective, to your point, I think the role of the CMO is really shifting. And I mentioned it before, it's that combination of strategy and storytelling. And being close, at least, I have the privilege of being close to our CEO and in the way he's telling the story, and really working with him around how we tell the story and position ARM in kind of the context. And so I think CMO has become a lot more of a strategic function than it probably ever was in the context of an executive team. So to me, that's the most exciting. That's kind of why I do what I do every day. And I truly believe we have the impact to really make the strides because of where we sit in kind of the executive team in alignment with the CEO. From an ARM perspective, I will say I couldn't be more excited about the future growth of the company. I mean, we are kind of, like I said, we're right there where everything is evolving from an AI perspective, and the amount of AI that we believe will happen in the future. I mean, we said last year by 2025 we will have 100 billion ARM devices that will be AI enabled. And just to give you perspective, that's a third of the amount of devices. We have 300 billion devices shipping, ARM enabled devices shipping. So
how much?
300 billion.
Billion with a B.
300 billion. Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
it's only
presume
going to
in
get
this
bigger.
room you'll probably have, a ton of ARM, probably 80% of the connected devices or 90% of the connected devices are on ARM. And so I believe that AI is really, here to stay.
And multimodal AI, computer vision, you name it, you're in everything.
We are in everything. And so the opportunity for us at ARM in front of us to really take advantage of everything that's going to kind of reinvent the way we think about pretty much every organization. That's what I'm most excited about. And I think ARM's sort of right there in the front and center of reinventing compute for the future of AI.
Yeah. And how do you keep up with it all every day? So you're on the big wave here.
Yeah. How do we keep up with everything? Yep.
Keep your sanity.
Exactly.
Thanks for coming on theCUBE. Great to see you again, and thanks for sharing. I know you're super busy.
Thanks for having me.
And congratulations on the record earnings. Love the company. Love what you guys do. And again, the edge is, just retail week was NRF just happened.
Yeah.
We did 3 days in New York on that. Man, it's all retail, it's all devices too.
Right.
Healthcare, I mean, every vertical.
Right.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.
All right, but the CMO leaders are here in Palo Alto. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE with Brian Bauman for NYSE Wired. Thanks for watching.